So I think there's a lot of great talk about like all these different analogies you can have with a modern person, all these metaphors and all these things. And someone said like don't just tell a story, but I'm kind of have to disagree with all that. I think that's exactly what you need to do. Is you just need to tell his story. I think you can't underestimate the ability that people have to get it. Like you don't have to have the point you want to make and then tell a story around that. You don't have to have your message be first and foremost. You don't have to hit us over the head with it. Like, don't insult us. Like, we can get it. Like, tell his story. And I think if you tell his story the right way, then any big transformations a modern person might have, any of these big analogies or metaphors that you could tack on would be unnecessary. If you tell his story right, people will get it. People will understand without you having to flash on the screen. Like we talked about Che, involved with Che. Like I doubt like Soderbergh set out and said, we're going to bash over people's heads that you need to question authority, you need to be a revolutionary. Like just tell his story, tell that person's story and their historical symbol of that message so people will get it. They'll associate it. It'll click for them without you having to keep flipping the switch right in front of their face. You know? So.
Everyone's kind of touched on it, but I was talking to Stephen during the break, and one of our concerns or issues is I think a decision has to be made if you want this to be an inspirational piece about Livingstone or if it's going to be a call to action for a generation of kids that are looking for a place to be or a place to serve. And I think what is so unique about this picture is you're trying to bridge that gap as using Livingstone as an icon to draw people to action. But I think it's a hard thing because you've got your Invisible Children pictures where you've got a documentary and then you've got a number that flashes on the screen that says, if you want to help, call this number. And I think that's what you guys are trying to get away from is telling Livingstone's story, but having that inspire within people to live lives in Christ. And with that also, I don't think you have to go to Africa to live out Christ's message. I think you can very well do it in your capacity as a professional or as a filmmaker or whatever your profession might be. You can find Christ in whatever life you live as long as you keep it in your mind and in your heart. So I don't know how you answer that question, is how do you bridge that gap between a documentary or an inspiring picture about Livingstone and a call to action for a generation that has been hit over the head with these call to actions.
You can't know world history from one class.
Right.
And you can't, I don't think, turn somebody into a missionary in one movie. But you can just chip away a little bit. Show them something that's magnificent and wonderful. And just put a little seed in their mind, you know. You're not going to, all of a sudden, I'm going to Africa, I'm going to be a missionary.
Okay.
You're not going to get that. No matter what, there's no movie made that I don't think that's going to do that. But you can make a movie where people walk out moved like I was moved when I was 17, you know, and saying, boy, I tell you, that's really, I mean, I get chills thinking about it now, even, how moved I was. Now, maybe we're not that great of filmmakers. We're not Fred Zinnemann or somebody, you know, and we don't have Orson Welles and all those wonderful people. But we can chip away. We can take a tiny piece, and we can do our best, you know, to try to inspire people. You know, we're not the greatest filmmakers in the world. We just got an idea here, and we're trying to. One thing we are doing that maybe more filmmakers should do is we have our heart in the right place. I think to try to do something good, and we're anxious to get feedback from people that have the same sort of consciousness and the same sort of vibration. You know, so I think in that respect, you know, maybe we'll be divinely inspired in some way, hopefully. But all we can really do, to answer your question, is chip away a little bit, maybe, you know.
And with that said, I think if you do find a way to bridge this gap, and this is going to be a picture like no one's ever seen, because no one's ever tried to mesh that line, and no one's ever tried to walk that line.
Right.
And I think if you get that, then you will inspire a whole new group of kids and a whole new generation into something through a mode of entertainment. And I think that is a hybrid that you will start if you succeed in this movie.